And welcome once again to the Liberty Lounge. I'm Johnny B. On my left is Jared of Guns and Gadgets. Out there in California is Anthony, the arms scholar. Holy guacamole. We got a treat for y'all today. Our friend Erich Pratt of the Gun Owners of America. Erich, I want to just jump right into it. I've, followed your career for a long time. You've been with the GOA for a long while, and I think it's fantastic. But things are very different today than they were when you first got started. Today, unlike then, you now have to work with content creators and these sort of knuckleheads. I can't even stand these other two guys. What has this ride been for you like in pushing the Second Amendment forward and having to work with content creators in part to do it?
Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me, guys. This is truly an honor to be with you all. And Johnny, that was very kind of you saying that I've been with GOA for a long time. It's just kind of a nice way of saying you're old, dude. But things have changed over the years. I mean, if you remember, I came on in the early 90s, actually 1990. And back then, man, we were just scrapping for any kind of little victory that we could get. And I mean, victories in the courts, like that was unheard of, right? So, you fast forward, 30 some years now. And I mean, the victories that we've been having in the courts are unheard of. So that's been exciting. And, a lot of it, you mentioned working with content creators. So yeah, that's a different different aspect that we didn't have back in the 90s. But let me tell you, y'all have been crucial because, we can't do it alone. I mean, we have our membership, we communicate to them, we'll get articles or things in newspapers, when there were newspapers back in the dinosaur ages, so we would go on radio or TV, but, those were just little ventures outside of our membership. But now that we've got, guys like yourselves and others, I mean, that just multiplies the voice that we have and the ability that we have to reach many people and tell, an additional untold who knows how many people about what's going on in Washington, D.C. and what the fights are all about, what's happening around the state. So it's been real exciting to see just the progression over the years.
Do you see, now that you've gone through, like you said, the old legacy type media versus the new age media now, do you think, or is your experience that it's easier to rally the troops faster than the old dinosaur type days?
Definitely. I mean, when we first started out, if you could believe it or not, we were using fax machines, and so there may be some people listening or viewing this that are like, "What's a fax machine?" It's so yes, our ability to rally. I mean, I just think of the engaged in the business rule. Otherwise, what is really a universal background registration rule. Last November, early December, when we were trying to rally the troops. You guys know, I mean, I was talking to you about this, Jared. I went on your show to talk to your viewers about this. We were able to reach such a larger audience than we would have been able to otherwise. I mean, we were able to generate 85,000 comments on this, which was a record for us. And it may have been, when you add up all the other comments that came in, it could have been a total record. I guess I'd have to go back and look at the green tip ammo one, because that was a pretty big number of comments that came in as well. But anyway, all to say, yeah, our ability to be able to work with you guys and reach millions of additional people is just huge. So we really appreciate it.
We want to thank the sponsor of today's show, Patriot Mobile. For 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. And when I say only, trust me, they're the only one. Patriot Mobile is a new supporter of the Liberty Lounge, and we are proud to partner with them. Patriot Mobile offers dependable nationwide coverage, giving you the ability to access all three major networks, which means you get the same coverage you've been accustomed to without funding the left. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you're sending the message that you support free speech, religious freedom, the sanctity of life, the Second Amendment, and our military veterans and first responder heroes. Their 100% US-based customer service team makes switching easy. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their team will help you find the best plan that meets your needs. Just go to patriotmobile.com/liberty or call 972-PATRIOT. You can get free activation when you use the offer code LIBERTY. Join me and make the switch today.
So Eric, I want to go back, just take a step back, because we're presupposing that everybody knows who GOA is, what you guys do. And can you just give a quick blurb of like what GOA is, what your role is with them, what is your guys' general like ethos? Because every national org has a different ethos, and then you guys have a very specific one that we all appreciate that you guys live by.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And that would be 2 words: no compromise. That is what we're all about. That's what we've been all about since our founding in 1976. And it was that, and wanting to put heat on legislators, even the Republican legislators that were acting like rhinos. And there were, just to be fair, other groups that didn't want to put heat on those legislators. So we were founded by a rock solid California state senator back when it was a red state. And I mean, ever since then, we've kind of been like the pit bull in the junkyard and, just going after and inflicting heat. And the only way the politicians get us to stop inflicting the heat is to start following their oath of office, their oath to uphold the Constitution. And so anyway, that's, our reach obviously has grown over the years. Now we're involved in every state. We're taking on more court cases than we ever have before. Obviously Bruin, Heller, McDonald, and Bruin, but especially Bruin have just been game changers, and we're winning more cases than ever. So it's a great time to be taking cases in the court. And of course, we've always been heavily involved in Congress. And it's just so exciting to see. I mean, just this past year, we won 2 huge cases. We're able to repeal stop the enforcement of the veterans gun ban. And when we got that rider put into a spending bill, it was Bloomberg News that said that the gun rights people were the only ones in the whole conservative movement that were able to get a victory. Well, how did we do that? Well, grace of God. But it's also inflicting the heat. It's working with guys like yourself to get the word out. We provide pre-written letters to make it easy for people to respond. The thing I love about that is while we give people pre-written letters that they can send, we find that it actually generates more original letters, because people a lot of times they just don't know how to get past the dear representative. But once you give them something, then they'll take that and they'll build on it. They'll delete some things they don't like. Maybe we're just not being hard enough. I mean, we get that, like, you're not being mean enough in your letters. Okay, toughen it up. That's why we make them all editable, so that you can make it your own. But that has a huge impact. So I mean, go figure. We're the only group in the conservative movement that got a victory. And the other big thing, of course, was defunding the ATF by $122 million. It sent the anti-gun left into orbit. I mean, Senator Dick Durbin saying, just squealing how this is going to prevent the ATF from enforcing gun control. And we were like, yeah, that's what we want. So anyway, that's why we're here. We're here to preserve our Second Amendment rights and reclaim what's been lost.
I want to give a caveat to my question, and or maybe just a statement. In the grand history of mustaches, we've got, I think that the peak is probably going to be Sam Elliott, and then second will be Tom Selleck. But brother, rocking that thing. I'm going to give you third place. Like, are you in this? Is this your awesome era? Is this the era where you just have arrived and you're rocking it, man? You look great.
Well, thank you. And if I knew you were going to do that, I would have worn my Tom Selleck Hawaiian style AR-15 shirt. I mean, you got to let me know when you're going to do these kind of things. That would have just been very appropriate. I'm always looking for opportunities to wear that.
Well, you better let us know when you're going to roll in there looking like that. You're the man that I aspire to be at some point. We all went
thank you too. I'm going to go home and tell my wife that I've been labeled right behind Tom Selleck, and we'll see. I'll let you know where that goes.
Yeah, honey, some hillbilly from Appalachia said I look good. He's a
I'm not going to
50-year-old
put it like that.
50-year-old bald man. We all hung out a few months ago, and we really got to sit down, and we went out of state, and all of us did, and we sat down, looked each other in the eye, and you walked us through, and your team walked us through who the GOE is, what y'all do, what your mission is, and what your mission is not. And I really like that, because too often, I think a lot of gun guys put all of the different organizations in one barrel, and they're not. Back to Kamala Harris Venn diagrams. There's overlapping purposes and overlapping holes and things that you don't do. But one of the ways you guys do what you do, and I should say I'm a member, proud member, and is the GOA runs lean. Can you walk us through a little bit of that? I think our audience would love to hear this, because I don't think a lot of folks know how lean the GOA runs.
Well, so many jokes came to mind, but I should probably refrain. I'll just say that the suits I own are actually hand-me-ups from my adult children that have outgrown them. That's no lie. And I don't own a private jet, unlike what one gun tuber out there said. Although we wanted to do a video where, there's a jet in the distance, and I'm walking up to it as if I'm going to board it, and then you see it's just a little Matchbox jet. But anyway, yeah, lean is we are very mindful of our members' money, and we are so grateful for that. And I think it first starts with just being just a Christian morality, that we want to be good stewards of the money that's been given to us. And we want to be faithful with that. But we're also so passionate about our God-given right to self-defense protected by the Second Amendment that we want to use every penny of it to take cases in court, to beat the snot out of rhino legislators in the Congress. And so anyway, that's just our overarching philosophy. Obviously we publish 990, so people can see how we spend it. I mean, you'll see that the salaries here are very modest, especially for living in the DC area, which is one of like the top 5 most expensive places to live. So I don't know. It's kind of an uncomfortable question, to talk about ourselves in that way, but I understand why you ask it, Johnny, and
I think
it's got to be asked.
I think in this climate is that we're in a place now where people care about this stuff. People literally can't buy groceries, and to say, hey, it's a nonprofit organization that operates, I don't know, maybe like a nonprofit should. And I think it's just like the more I hear from behind the scenes and sitting down with you guys, Jared's super plugged in. He was talking about just the other day, just about how you guys, in my opinion, seem to honor those dollars. And I just think it's really, really refreshing to see, especially in light of some of the other garbage that's been out there in the Second Amendment. Not to throw rocks at a specific direction, but just to say it's refreshing to see, Eric. I know it's an uncomfortable question, but I think it's also good for you. We are mass communicating here. We started with the newspapers and the teletype. Now we've moved on to the fax machine, and we
fax machines, yeah.
All right. I'm excited about this. Jared's excited about this. Knoxville, Tennessee. Y'all are coming here. Let's just start at the beginning. How did y'all choose Knoxville?
So many reasons, really. Where to start? We felt that it would be just a good central location that we'd be able to draw a lot of people. I mean, obviously, you don't want to go into a blue state central to try to draw a lot of people. We also have a lot of the GOA personnel around there, because it really helps to have boots on the ground. But let me tell you all, we are so super excited about this. I mean, this is something that our members have been asking us to do for years. So, I mean, this conference is bringing together the gun industry with great entertainment, great Second Amendment speakers, like y'all being there. We're really excited about that. Thank you for coming. There's going to be over 120,000 square feet of guns and gear. And best of all, to get in, it's free for all GOA members. And so I should mention, people can go to goals.GOA gun.gunowners.org. And that's where you can make your reservation. But let me tell you, it's going to be Christmas in August. A lot of gun vendors there. By the way, Brownells is the title sponsor. I know they sponsor a lot of your podcasts here. They're a great organization. So thankful for their support. We really couldn't be doing this without them.
Yeah, great folks over there. They're part of our team, and we're blessed to know some of the folks over there. And for those who might be watching, goals, let's see if I get it right, because I always screw this up, is the Gun Owners Advocacy and Leadership Summit in Knoxville, Tennessee, August
17th and
18th. We'll have the information down below. Come on out. You can hang around with Johnny, and he likes to have a group of people around him.
Yeah. What a bad decision. Like, tell people to come in August to hang out with us. I'll be sweaty. It'll be August. I'll be sweaty. But I'll tell you this, I'm going to be excited. We were talking to Erich the other day about how gun shows are just freaking awesome because you get to like put your hands on stuff that you don't normally get to see. Jared, what are you excited about? Which vendor?
A couple, because Little Bird told me there's going to be some stuff that's dropped and unveiled at Goals. So that is what I'm excited to see, because there's going to be a couple different companies. So I can't wait to see all of it. It sounds weird, but I want to see all of it.
Anthony, how excited are you about putting your hands on the non-California legal stuff?
I don't know if it's at this point, it's always just painful to see all the new stuff and, oh, look, I can't buy that. I can't buy that. I can't have that. I can't have that. No, it's always fun. I mean, it's fun to see the new stuff. And I mean, we've talked about it a little bit. Sometimes it's hard to be like, oh, AR, handgun, but it's still, I mean, it's fun. It's always a great time to hang out with the guys. And of course now GOA is doing it. So it's going to be great to hang out with all of you guys. I'm excited. I'm glad it's in Knoxville. I also get to hang out with the buddies, and we're going to do podcasts over there and all that stuff. And we're all going to sit in the front row when Johnny does his meme show and heckle him. So if you guys want to go heckle Johnny, actually don't. That was a bad message.
Yeah, you come heckle me. I'm doing a meme show. People don't know this. I'm doing a live Spicy Friday. And it was funny. Our GOA friend, Kaylee hollered, and we were sitting at dinner one night, and she goes, Johnny, I've got a very special request. No pressure. But she said, would you do Spicy Friday live? And I said, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I'll take my laptop and some headphones and a little camera. And so then she started advertising it. Turns out it's live, like with an audience. I thought it was just going to be me and my YouTube folks. So we're doing it live. Anthony says, come heckle me. Y'all bring it on. Y'all want to heckle, you'll get a heckle back. Bring it on. All right, Erich,
very sweaty.
Exciting. What'd you say, Anthony?
I said you're going to be very sweaty up there.
Oh, I'm going to be sweaty. It'll be welcome to August in East Tennessee, but we're in East Tennessee. It's going to be God's country. Erich, there's a lot of good going on. We're headed there. We're going to talk about the Second Amendment. We're going to see guns. We're going to talk about advocacy. We're going to be able to lock arm in arm with like-minded people. It's just good to get refreshed. It's going to be a vitamin 12 or a B12 shot to my Second Amendment arteries. I'm pumped about it. What are you scared about? What are you nervous about? What part of goals has got you going, I don't know about this. What have we gotten ourselves into?
I think just the fact, that it's our first time. It's our first national convention. So it's the what is it that we don't know? We don't know what we don't know. So, right. If you ask me that question afterwards, I'll probably hopefully it will be, there wasn't much to be scared about. But I should have mentioned too, in answer to your question about why Knoxville. I mean, and y'all know this. That whole area is such a family-friendly environment. People, if you want to come, bring the family, extend your stay, take your kids to nearby amusement parks or see the historical attractions. In fact, GOA itself, the convention itself is going to have activities for kids. So really, it's fun for the whole family. There's going to be live music and, obviously the comedy night. Is that going to be a family-friendly affair, Johnny? I meant to ask. It is. Okay.
It'll 100% be a family-friendly affair. Okay. I know I'm already threatening. I've already threatened the audience to come heckle me. Please don't heckle me. Like on the inside, I'm very soft, and I'm so nervous about it. But it'll be family friendly, 100%. It'll be a little spicy. I'm going to call it PG-11, but no worse than that. So people will have their friends there, and it'll be cuss word free, but it'll be a little sassy. I think it's going to be a little sassy. What are you most excited about? Like, there's a phrase in the South called druthers. I don't know if y'all say druthers where you're at. Have you learned druthers yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. You say druthers like, what would you rather? If you were picking out a restaurant, what's your druthers? Well, I'd rather go to Cracker Barrel. What's your druthers? What would you like to have happen? Like, what are you most excited about? And, what's your secret wish list that's going to happen at Goals?
Well, I am familiar with the terminology. I married a Southerner, so it's like coming back home. I'll tell you, one of the things I'm really excited about, besides all the people like y'all that are going to be there, and just a lot of the big names, all under one roof, good music, good comedy, good fun, is the fact that if you're a concealed carrier, you're going to be able to carry at the convention, carry conceal. And I mean, that's actually an unusual thing. I was watching y'all's Liberty Lounge not too long ago, and you were talking about the SHOT Show, how, you can't carry at the SHOT Show. It's actually in many places an unusual thing at these big conventions to be able to carry. But that was actually something that was really important to us. The place where we're at normally doesn't allow firearms, but we fought hard to get it into the contract. So that is now a thing. So now people can carry. So we're really excited about that, we're not going to have to set our safety aside, leave it at the door or back at the hotel or whatever. So, a lot of things to be excited about. We're really looking forward to it. Again, August 17th and 18th. Really encourage you, go ahead and pre-register, goals.gunowners.org. And we really look forward to seeing you there.
So many folks know what GO is, what they do. And I think you know this, like I'm preaching to the choir here. You all are the tip of the spear. But for those who don't know, maybe, and for the people who are aware of what y'all do, maybe give us an update on a couple of cases that are still outstanding, because you guys are doing a ton of work. Like you said earlier, more cases than you've ever done. Your legal team, I talk to them often. They are well overworked, but it's great because they're doing phenomenal work for the average American who might not be plugged in. So maybe go through a couple of cases and where they're at, or maybe some of your recent ones that you've had come through as victories as well.
Absolutely. So one of the ones is the Antonuk case in New York, and we're right now waiting for the Second Circuit Court to issue a report because they've been instructed to by the Supreme Court, and it'll probably end up before the district judge soon. Just to recap, in case anybody hasn't really been following that, after the Bruin decision, New York passed a very draconian, basically flipped the bird to the court, and they just reenacted everything the Supreme Court had said they couldn't do. So our case is challenging the gun-free zones that New York imposed on concealed carriers. I mean, imagine the arrogance of the governor. She just brazenly bragged that there'd probably be a couple streets where people could carry after that bill was signed into law. I mean, it's just outlandish. One of the other big things in this case that we're challenging is the good moral character test, which allows state bureaucrats to use undue discretion to deny permits to people. So, they're going way beyond a criminal background check. I mean, this can involve any kind of discretion that the bureaucrat might think is appropriate. So here's what's amazing. This case hadn't reached its final status in the lower courts. Attorneys like Anthony love to say, it's an interlocutory appeal, right? I mean, you guys love that word. Well,
no, we don't love that word, Erich. You've already thrown draconian at me, and you lost me at draconian. I'm like, is this Game of Thrones kind of stuff?
He's looking it up on his cell phone, right?
First you say it, and then you're like, you guys love it. No, 2 out of 3 of us have no clue what that means.
One out of 3.
One out of 3 of us
hasn't reached its final status, and the Supreme Court loves to say, nope, exhaust all your appeals and then come to us. The Supreme Court did a rare thing here, which is telling. They took action on it, even though it hadn't finished the entire appeal process, and they GVR'd the case. In other words, they took it up, kind of a light version of taking it up. I think, Jared, you were the one that said it was kind of like a light beer. I like that. That's a good analogy. But just to explain that for people who might not understand, GVR, they granted certiorari to our appeal. Again, which is amazing that they're taking it up even though we hadn't exhausted our appeals. They vacated the Second Circuit's panel decision. In other words, they rejected it. They said, you got it wrong. And then they remanded the case back to the lower courts, in essence saying, look, get it done right. And they said, do it in light of the Rahimi case, which is kind of significant because on page 5 of that decision, the court said that you can't deny somebody their Second Amendment rights just because you think he or she is not responsible. And that's where we get back to that good moral character test. Oh, this person has parking tickets. They're not a responsible person. Or, oh, this person has politically incorrect views that might make somebody feel uncomfortable. They're not responsible. I mean, so, this is a central core of this New York case. And the Supreme Court is saying you've got it wrong. They're smacking down the judges and they're saying, now you got to get it right. So we're really excited about this because I've been told, and maybe Anthony, you can concur or say I'm full of it, but typically these GVRs only occur if 6 out of the 9 justices agree. I've heard there can be exceptions to that, but that means the writing's on the wall. So that case is going to go down, and that's just going to cause a huge wave around the country because, as you guys know, a lot of states around the country are adopting this sensitive places doctrine or good moral character. And so that's the heart of the New York Antonuk case that we're dealing with.
Yeah, and I know Massachusetts is bugging me like crazy, my friends back there, because yesterday Governor Maura Healey, who is one of the worst, signed in Massachusetts' big conglomerate of the worst bills possibly thrown together. So as of August 1st, Massachusetts will be facing this as well as a ban on semi-autos. So all eyes on you, no pressure.
Yeah. Actually, our attorneys are in discussion and looking at that, considering that. I don't have anything final to talk about here today, but just that it's in the works. And so I'm excited about that. Another one that I can tell you about, of course, which is a really exciting victory, is the preliminary injunction that we got against the universal background checks. As you guys know, the Biden administration has been trying to weaponize the ATF to make an end around Congress and enact gun control legislation. They've done that in many different ways, but their most recent effort was the universal background registration rule. And so where we're at right now, there's a schedule for us to file briefs, and then the ATF files response briefs in the federal district court where we're at. Our attorneys think that we'll get a final decision in January, but then of course that can be appealed. So, just think about how the bump stock case took 6 years, right? So we're still, we're only like, 4 or 5 months out. So this could take a while, but at the status that we have right now, as this case moves forward, the ATF is prevented from enforcing the rule against GOA members, against members of VCDL, that's a Virginia State gun group, against TFA members, Tennessee gun rights group and their members, and the residents of 4 states, Texas, Utah, Mississippi, and Louisiana. Sorry if your state's not covered, but if you are a GOA member, you are covered. And let me just say about that, look, we weren't just fighting for GOA members. We wanted this for everybody. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however way you want to look at this, the Supreme Court is really encouraging federal district court judges to not make these kind of these sweeping
universal forms of relief. They're against universal forms of relief.
Yes, outside of the immediate plaintiff. So anyway, that's why it's GOA and those certain groups that I mentioned that are getting the relief. Just real quickly, just to really nail down what this case is about, because it's so significant. Virtually every person who sells even a privately owned gun is going to have to become a gun dealer under this ATF rule. And virtually every person who buys a gun, even from a neighbor, is going to have to fill out a 4473 form. So Obviously, this is all about gun owner registration. The ATF already has nearly 1 billion records. They want a record of every gun transaction. And so we're trying to stop that at every juncture that we can.
Yeah, and we saw the ATF use that illegal, unconstitutional registry that you guys at GOA uncovered thanks to your FOIA during the assassination investigation.
They wouldn't do that.
Yeah, well, they did. They had that information in under 30 minutes and the place where the would-be assassin bought his gun was out of business.
They're just doing their job.
Yeah, they're doing their job, all right.
Yeah.
So,
Crazy.
a couple things about that. And I think it's really important that we communicate this with our legislators because they're getting hit with this example that you just brought up, Jared. They're getting, it's like, oh, well, maybe there is a useful purpose for having this registry. Well, two things. First of all, that registry did not prevent the killer from, or the shooter from trying to assassinate President Trump. It didn't prevent it. So that's point number one. And by the way, Representative Michael Cloud, who based on our FOIA request, he asked even more questions, and the ATF couldn't even give him examples of where it has been useful at bringing criminals to justice. So that's point number one. But I think it's also significant. We should know, even if that registry was successful in stopping a crime, the whole Bill of Rights is premised on the fact that there are certain rights that we hold which are so important that government, even if they can make a case that it's effective to prevent crime, they can't do it. That's why they can't bug your home. That's why they can't bug every call that you make. That's why they can't have a government agent in your home. All those things might be effective at stopping crimes, but we have rights. So even if they can make the case that this could help stop gun crimes or crimes with guns, which they haven't made the case, but even if they could, it doesn't matter because the registry is so detrimental. I won't say draconian, Johnny, so detrimental to our rights because historically registration is a first step to gun confiscation.
Right. And at best it's reactive anyway. They couldn't have stopped the kid from doing it. They just,
and they didn't. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So I actually want to take a quick step back, Eric, because I think this is important. We talk a lot, especially on my channel and Jared's channel and a lot of other channels, we talk a lot about the lawsuits. Sometimes that's weirdly the sexy stuff that people love about the two-way space, which is very strange again. But I want to take a step back because it's also important because you guys do a lot of lobbying. And when you talk about your lawsuit against the engaged in business rule that the ATF put in place, that was a downstream effect of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. And you guys played a very big role in lobbying against that as well. And it's called bipartisan for a reason because there was a lot of rhinos, like you mentioned, who crossed the line. So I kind of wanted you to give the behind the scenes discussion about what you guys do in instances like that with the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act and what goes on there, and what your guys' stance is when things like that are being worked up by Congress to pass something bipartisan, which we know is going to have the downstream effect of the ATF taking the ball and running and trying to create these insane rules.
Yeah. That was a tough loss. And the media touted that this was like the first, gun control, big gun control in 30 years, because we have won so many battles. After the Sandy Hook tragedy, President Obama tried to push stuff through Congress, and we were able to stop that. Even at a time where it just seemed there was something that was going to pass, we rallied the troops to put the heat on legislators, and we killed it. But it didn't happen this time, and we got to name names. I mean, it was because of people like Senator John Cornyn and a few other key, Mitch McConnell and others, who brought enough Republicans over to break the filibuster. And once that happened, I mean, it was just Katie bar the door. It was going to be impossible to stop. I think it's telling that a lot of the people that the Republican senators who stabbed us in the back are no longer in the Senate. They were retiring. And so, they knew, or they didn't have another election for 6 years.
Right.
So hoping that people would forget about it. So we have published those names. I know you guys have helped also spread who is on that list, and we just need to keep reminding people. And every time they come up for office for reelection, we remind people. We're reminding people right now in Montana, even though, Democrat, but John Tester, who likes to portray himself as pro-gun. Well, he was one of those people that, it wasn't an election year. And so, John Tester is against us 5 out of every 6 years. We're now in the 6th year, and now he's trying to throw us some bones and make some good votes, hoping that people will ignore the other 5 years. And so what we do as an organization is we go into the state, we know when these senators are up, and we remind the voters, this is how your backstabbing senator treated you the rest of the time. Don't be fooled by how he's talking now. So you can't separate the legislative from the election process. I'll give you just one more quick example. Under Nancy Pelosi's rule, they snuck into a military spending bill. They snuck in a red flag law, and we told congressmen not to vote for it. Well, over 100 Republican representatives did. And we held their feet to the fire. I know, the gun influencers were taking that information and shouting it from the housetops. Let me tell you, they felt the heat. They felt the heat so bad. Number one, the provision was taken out. Number two, 78% of the Republicans who lost their primaries the next election were Republicans who had voted for that red flag law in the military spending bill. So, a lot of times, they may just overrun us, but there's always the election when there's retribution. We have memories like elephants. That's not a reference to the GOP, by the way. We have good memories, and we're going to come after you to hold you accountable.
I think it's amazing when we all push in the same direction. I think it's something that we don't always have because people are fractional, like we are tribal, especially conservatives are. Conservatives are leave me alone. As a whole, the other half, they are evil and they band together and try to ruin this world. And so I think it's just amazing hearing stories like that. It gets me charged up. All right, Erich, there's something that our audience loves. They love talking about gear. They love talking about EDC. 2 questions. 1, what's your current EDC setup? What are you carrying? And then 2, what's a piece of gear that you just find invaluable, whether it's in your home setup or your office setup or your vehicle, maybe something that you grab if the zombies are coming, but what are you carrying? And what's one thing that you would not like to live without?
You can't say can opener.
See, you try to have a can opener. You try to open up like a can of Beanie Weenies to be able to survive. And these 2 knuckleheads will not let it go. I'm not backing down from this. A country boy will survive. And how do we survive is with a can opener. I'm not backing down.
I saw your episode on the gear, and I'm so tempted to pull my shoe off and say, I need shoes. Right, Johnny?
I'm with this guy.
Okay, real quickly. It depends on what I'm wearing. I vacillate between 3 different guns. If I'm not wearing a lot, Johnny, mind yourself there, shorts and just a t-shirt, I might go with my smallest gun possible, which would be the Ruger LCP. But that's on very rare occasions. Typically, it's either going to be my Glock 19 or Glock 43. Love both of those. The thing I can't do without, man, I became an expert marksman when I got one of those micro-Ronis and I slapped my Glock into that thing. I am like Annie Oakley, let me tell you. I mean, I'm not a bad shot anyway, but you put that thing in there, so you come into my house, that's what you're going to be dealing with. So that would be my I need, it's hard to limit it to just one thing, right? I love my ARs and, et cetera, but, something convenient, small, I would have to go with that.
Stuck a feather in his cap and called him Micro-Roni. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, here's the deal. Knock it off. Both of y'all. I can't stand by. I don't even know why I'm still doing this podcast. I'm going solo. After this, my solo career begins.
Solo career.
You
and
have
a can opener.
Anthony, one of these days, Ethel, or Alice, one of these days, Alice, bangs Zoom to the moon. That's an old reference, kids. It's an old reference. You've mentioned a lot of different players in DC. Who's getting it right now? I know that people are messy, and there's a lot of folks that do a lot of good and still step in it sometimes. But who gets a thumbs up from you right now in 2024?
Thomas Massey, Representative Thomas Massey, Representative Chip Roy. And let me throw a curveball at you. Senator D Vance is one of 4 senators with a perfect voting record. And let me tell you, he's taken when I say he's taken some tough votes, he's taken some tough votes in terms of how people will come after him. Like, he's voted against military spending, a military spending bill. That's a tough thing to do as a Republican. Right. Why did he do it? Well, it had gun control in it. So kudos, because we were telling them, but he was only one of 4 guys that stood up and voted against that. He has co-sponsored, every pro-gun bill that's out there. He took the vote to repeal the pistol brace ban. He's as solid as they come, and I love the fact that during the convention he was one of the few guys to sneak in a good little gun story. So I appreciated that.
One thing I think you mentioned earlier, and I think we should hit on this real quick, is you mentioned that some cases take 6 years, like a lot of the bump stock, right? It takes years and years to get a final judgment, good, bad, or ugly. And we often talk when we're all sitting together, the value of people getting involved before that, before a law is actually signed, so that it doesn't take 6 years or millions of dollars in legal fees. Sorry, Anthony. But attorneys cost a lot of money. Yeah. Maybe you could give some folks some information, some advice about why it is so important for us to get involved and harass our legislators, or on the other side of the coin, give them an attaboy when they do something that is supportive of the mission. Because yes, I often get, I'm sure you guys do in the comments, like, I'm not calling, it's a waste of time, they don't listen, or my representative is Nancy Pelosi, or Elizabeth Warren's my senator. Give the folks some feedback of what you see in DC with boots on the ground every day, of when people actually get involved.
Well, a lot there, and thanks for that question, because that is so crucial. You're absolutely right. The court cases are kind of the sexy thing that everybody loves to see that, but they are super expensive. And even when we win, let's face it, most of the time we rarely get 100% win. Even with the Bruin case, rah Bruin. I can take you to parts that I was like, I wouldn't have written it that way. And to be fair, Clarence probably had to write it that way to get some of the votes. So I get that. Yeah. Okay. But that's all to say, we rarely get 100% win. When we win in Congress, it's almost always 100%. Like, we're just killing something outright, or we're preventing it from coming up. So even from a financial perspective, it makes much more sense to be actively involved in the legislative battles. And, I think it's important to do both. But I think even constitutionally, it's important because, let's face it, the judges are there for life, but it's the legislators that have to come back either every 2 or 6 years to get our vote, so we have a chance to hold them accountable. And so part of self-governance is that we are staying on top of the issues, and we are holding them accountable, or giving them the attaboys. But I could give you so many examples where we were just going to get railroaded because there'd been a horrid, tragic shooting like Sandy Hook, and the media was just hammering it day after day. You remember how it was in 2012, 2013. And it was kind of depressing, because everywhere, even from pro-gun folks, they were saying, yeah, something's going to pass. And do you know that nothing passed? And it was because we rallied the troops. And once, especially Republican offices started getting the postcards, started getting the phone calls, they were like, yikes, maybe we shouldn't be so quick to rush into agreeing to Obama's gun control. And everything ended up dying. I mean, it was one of the most dramatic victories. But that's what I mean. When we win legislatively, it's usually 100%. Whereas in the courts, I'm excited about the Antonuk case, but guess what? The district court judge didn't give us everything we were asking for. We got most of it, but not all of it. So, as much as we tout it and say, yay, this was a great thing, we're still losing ground in some ways. So we got to have the legislative fights. It's got to be there. Otherwise, in the end, we're just going to go broke and eventually, just drawing a new line. And if you remember the old Bugs Bunny cartoon, I know Johnny does, where they just kept drawing the line, okay, here, now here, and then eventually you fall off the cliff, right? I mean, that's how that ends.
Yeah, which is so important, like what your guys' whole ethos is. Like, that's why it's amazing with GOA, no compromise. And I think it's an important point for the audience. Like, yes, the lawsuits and all that, that's the sexy things everybody likes to talk about. But Erich made a great point. Even after Bruin directly was a response, and it was a decision on New York's old concealed carry laws. Well, 8 days later, they passed the Concealed Carry Improvement Act, which Antonuk is now fighting. So, I mean, there's never a perfect solution. Sometimes it is way more effective to stop these things before they ever happen. And even just on the lawsuit side of things, yes, it takes years to get rid of them. But also, when was the last time you've seen something in Congress get outright repealed, like a law that got passed at a federal level? Very, very rarely. Very, very hard. So it's better to just never have it happen. I kind of want to shift gears.
We did with the veterans gun ban, so that was an exciting exception.
Yeah, that's why those things are important, because it's very rare that happens. I kind of want to shift gears because we've talked a lot about, and we've mentioned it here kind of in the podcast, the upcoming election. And almost everything is shaped in the upcoming election. How does GOA, do you guys change strategy at all when we're in an election year like this, presidential election? Like, how do you guys handle that, especially with all the madness that is going on right now and the Trump assassination? And there was rumblings about, well, maybe someone would try to do something at a national level. And we've seen fingers get pointed again at the firearm in the gun community. So how does GOA kind of handle that? And like, how do you guys see this year playing out? Because everybody's got their tinfoil hats on right now.
Well, we connect the legislative session to the election season. So we publish a voter guide, which is purely based for incumbents. It's purely based on their voting record. For challengers who don't have a background or a legislative background, we survey them, and then we grade them based on their surveys. And so we publish that. In fact, we'll have the first iteration of that at the Goals conference coming up here in August. It'll be in everybody's packet that they get at the door. But we'll then, as in the next couple of months, of course, we'll be getting more feedback from people who are running. And so we'll be expanding that, and we'll have that on our website for everybody to see. But, that's really crucial. That's how we had the wave of, the 1994 wave, when we kicked a lot of anti-gun legislators out after the semi-auto ban and the Brady bill. And President Clinton said several times that it was those two laws that cost him control of the Congress. And, so it's just a matter of holding people accountable, but also giving them the information so that they can hold people accountable. So, we're now in this election season. We're going to be letting as many people, screaming it from the housetops. And hopefully it's something that you guys can take and amplify too, to let people know where their legislators have stand on the issues. Because as you guys know, we were kind of talking about this with John Tester, but he's not the only one. They love to go to Washington and do one thing, and then they come back and, well, I'm a hunter, and I wear orange, and all these things that they think are going to grab you, like, oh, he's one of us, when that's just all smokescreen. And so we blow away the smoke and give people the facts.
I think, all kidding aside, that I love the mission of the GOA. I am fully behind you guys, have been for a long, long time. I've looked y'all in the eye. I've been on multiple road trips. We went up to Gatlinburg just a few weeks ago and sat down with your media team, had a great time. I am so pumped about Goals. And I want to say you all are, and I'm going to say this truly, y'all are amazing in your own right, in your own lane. And I don't ever want it to be, well, GOA is great, and especially because they're not that team. And however, there is something to be said for not being those other guys. And there's something that I think the other folks in other areas do, and not just in this industry, in all industries, is they will do panic things like, oh my God, this is happening. Donate. Yeah. And sometimes there is a call. We have to get all hands on deck today, get the signatures or get the comments every now and then. But I think you guys are pretty purposeful in that it's not a constant panic because we get fatigued from that. How purposeful are you all to delineate between sometimes it is all hands on decks and then other times just, hey, just ongoing, regular, let's all row together? How purposeful are y'all to not be in a panic?
It's very intentional. And, I mentioned earlier, I really want to say this in a sober way. Johnny, I'm a Christian, and the organization runs on Christian principles. That doesn't mean we're always going to do everything right. But it is really important to us that we are honest with our members. I know from a marketing point of view, we could take the worst bill that's been introduced by some anti-gun Democrat, and we could shout that from the housetops and say, give us money to stop this bill. But we know it's never going to go anywhere. We don't do that. And to some degree, maybe that hurts us financially. I would hope it still gains us in integrity. And this is the commitment that we do, that when we bring an issue to people, through an alert or a mailing or something like that, it's because we are concerned that this is either we have intel that it's moving, is going to move, or could be moving, but it's not one of these, repeal the second. Representative Major Owen, for a couple Congresses, introduced an amendment to repeal the Second Amendment. Well, we knew that was never going to go anywhere, and it didn't. But, that's the kind of thing that could get people really riled up, but we're not going to do that. And so, I'll just tell you that's been our history, not to do that. And as long as I'm here, and hopefully those who follow me, after I'm long gone and, I'm up there, hopefully they will carry that same conviction as well.
Rest in peace, Erich. You just killed yourself on our show. When I'm dead, here's what's going to happen. I'm like, wah, wah.
I want to reiterate again, I'm so glad that you all decided on Knoxville for your first ever event for Goals. I look forward to going there. I look forward to seeing viewers there. What else? I know there's so much going on, but what else can you maybe give somebody who maybe is on the fence? What can they get from Goals that they can't get at, say, a SHOT Show or another convention? What makes Goals something they should actually come to and travel for?
Well, it's certainly, we talked about one of them. You'll be able to have your sidearm on you. I consider that huge. I think there's a realist, at a SHOT Show, you don't get to have the opportunity to ask questions of folks like the three of you, who'll be on panels and discussing things and getting questions from the audience. That's kind of a gun con thing. You might think of what we're doing as mixing gun con with SHOT Show. Kind of bringing the best of both. And so, what you don't get at the one, you get at the other. Well, here in Knoxville, you get both, but on top of that, you get the wonderful Knoxville area and the family-friendly environment, the fact that you can conceal carry, and quite frankly, I think personally, it's stunning, just the people that we have coming in, the speakers, the panelists, the hardcore, and there are some hardcore politicians. There's a few of them, not many of them, but the good ones are going to be there. So we're really excited about that.
I'm looking forward to meeting the mayor of Knox County.
Oh, yeah.
I used to watch Mayor Glenn Jacobs regularly. He's also known as
rises.
Kane because Randy's dead. But I'm looking forward to meeting him finally. We kind of follow each other on socials, but to actually be able to sit down with somebody who is not just famous for what he used to do, but he's a huge proponent for what we do in the gun rights area. So it's going to be cool to meet him. And for folks who want to know who's going, you can check out GOA on all the socials. We'll link it all down below, and they'll be releasing some cool pictures of us goofballs on different panels. There's a bunch of other ones coming, like Mr. Guns and Gear, Mr. Big Kid, and John Patrick.
22 Plinkster, Braden Langley, Herrera,
Lovell, who's Lovell coming
guys,
to?
Lovell, the guys from Guns Out TV, John and Shermichael.
All the white guys will be there.
No.
Oh, and Guns Out.
Guns Out. Come on.
John and Shermichael, you're my guys.
Michael Cargill's going to be there. Get to meet the hero of the bump stock case. I'm telling you, it's going to be the who's who of the Second Amendment community. So it's going to be, and of course, did I already mention the three of you guys are going to be there? So looking forward to the legal panel, Anthony. You're going to have William Kirk of the Washington Gun Law with you, Tom Greavy, Mark Smith. That's going to be a good panel, plus some of the GOA attorneys.
That's going to be good.
I do want to just
panels.
I want to just suggest this to Eric. I'm not telling you what to do. I would never tell a grown man what to do, but I just want to say this. We've never actually checked Anthony's credentials, and so you might want to look into that depending on which panel you're going to put him on. All right, last game. We're going to play a game here because normally when we talk about wish guns, our wish list, what's a holy grail gun, a gun that we want, I always frame it within reality. Today, no holds barred. Eric, you're going to go last. I'm going to go first. No holds barred. Dream gun. We're not talking about laws. We're not talking about availability. I'm talking about what do you want? I'm going first. I want a Browning automatic rifle. We are talking about something they used in the 30s. Big stuff. I mean, the bar is one of my favorites. The Bren is also it's 1A, 1B for me. I'll take either one, but I want a bar. I want it fully automatic. I want a truckload of ammo. That's what I want. Jared, what do you want? No holds barred.
I want a chain gun. So I can operate it remotely and just have millions of rounds ad nauseum, just play with a chain gun.
I like Anthony, what you got?
An AC-130. No, I'm just kidding. Probably like a Thompson submachine gun, because I think that would just be, I know they're horrible guns, really, in all practicality, but just to have the gangster vibe would be kind of cool. So
you always have the gangster vibe with me. Eric Pratt, what you want?
So many choices, but a Gatling gun would be fun just to sit there and crank away. Yeah. What's incredible, they're not even covered by the machine gun, the Hughes ban. They're completely legal. I don't know why I don't have one.
Yeah, see here, we've got the Gatling gun hot off the presses here. There, yeah, it is. We are mass communicating via firepower. We are so glad that you were here with us today, Eric Pratt. I mean, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, we are thankful for what the GOA does. You guys are in the trenches. Jared said earlier, y'all are tip of the spear. I know I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I know you would say it's an honor to be at the tip of the spear, and y'all are. Y'all are in the trenches. This is magnificent that y'all are coming to Knoxville in August. It's going to be a hot, sweaty, good time. This is Jared of Guns and Gadgets on my left. Anthony's out there, the arms scholar, waving by. Eric, I'm going to give you the final word.
Guys, thank you so much. It has truly been an honor for me to be with you. You guys are doing great work. I said it earlier. You help. I mean, in your own right, you're doing your own things, but as where we're concerned, you help amplify what we do. And so for that, I am truly grateful to you. All three of you are great friends, and I look forward to seeing you in August at the Goals Convention.
Everybody out there, we're glad that you found us however you did. Get yourself to Goals. Can't wait to hug your neck and take a selfie with y'all. On behalf of Anthony and Jared, I'm Johnny B, and this is the Liberty Lounge. We'll see you soon.